Chapter 13. Jess slipped out of bed as quietly as possible. She would have to come up with some excuse to explain to Emily where she'd gone when she returned, but she had to get this taken care of before she lost her nerve. Last night, she'd researched the abortion clinics on her phone and found the closest one lay in Fort Worth, 6 hours away. Unfortunately, Jess didn't have a car, so she also looked into buses. The earliest one left at 6 a.m., so she'd set the alarm for 5 and turned it to the quietest setting she dared. She wasn't sure if the alarm had woken her or if she'd never gone to sleep the night before. Jess grabbed her toothbrush, toothpaste, wallet, jacket, and shoes and slipped out of the room. Having slept in the clothes she planned to wear today to cut down on the chances of waking Emily, she now padded silently to the bathroom to brush her teeth and pull on her shoes. 5 minutes later, Jess pushed open the dorm doors and trekked across the dark campus to the bus stop. The street lamps cast an eerie glow across the grass as the sun was not yet out, and a sense of relief filled Jess when the small bus shelter came into view. She huddled in the corner, pulling her knees to her chest to combat the cold, and waited for the bus to arrive. Chad thought about what he would say to Jess as he crossed the campus. He'd spent the previous evening thinking about Kyle and his own life. Though not sure he was ready to commit, either to Jess or to a relationship, he needed to apologize to Jess for his behavior. Plus, he wanted to see if she still wanted to hang out, so they could get to know each other this time. As he neared the psychology building, a female figure near the side door caught his eye. Could it be Jess waiting for him? Was she having second thoughts as well? But when the girl turned, he realized it was not Jess. His heart sank as the distance closed, and he realized the girl was Jess's uptight roommate. "Have you seen her?" the girl asked when he was within earshot. "Not yet, but class is about to start." "She should be here soon." "Can I come in and wait for her?" Worry lines creased the girl's pretty face. "Why? What's wrong?" Chad asked as a sinking sensation filled his stomach. "I don't know." The girl tucked a strand of hair behind her ears. "Maybe nothing. But she was gone this morning when I got up. She's never gone. She sleeps until noon. And yesterday she was sick, throwing up, and she skipped church. I'm just worried about her." "Maybe she was still sick this morning and she left early so she wouldn't wake you," Chad offered. But in his heart, he didn't think that was the case. And now a seed of worry joined the sinking sensation, creating a churning, nauseous feeling. "Can I just check?" she continued. "I'll leave if she's not there, but will you tell her to call me if she shows up after I'm gone?" "Sure, yeah, come on," Chad said, opening the door for her. The two scanned the crowd, but Jess was nowhere to be seen. Chad dug a paper and pen out of his satchel, scrawled his number on the paper, and handed it to the girl. "Text me, so I have your number, and I'll text back whether or not she shows up." "Thank you." The girl took the paper from him, scanned the crowd with worried eyes one last time, and then turned and exited the room. Chad took out his supplies for class, but his mind was elsewhere. Where was Jess? And was she okay? It would be a long hour. Jess looked at Emily's number flashing across her caller ID and sighed. Emily had been calling every hour since 7 a.m. She should have known Emily would worry about her. Maybe she should have left a note, or maybe she could text and at least let Emily know she was okay. But what would she say? Boy troubles? Jess looked up at the woman next to her who had spoken. Kind brown eyes stared back at her from a weathered and wrinkled face. The woman had to be in her 70s. "No, my roommate," Jess said. "I left without telling her this morning, and she's worried about me." "Ah," the woman said with a knowing nod. "Why don't you just tell her where you're at?" I just didn't know. Emily couldn't stop her now, even if she told her. But the truth was, Jess never wanted Emily to know what she was doing, and she had no lie concocted yet. "It's the secrets that hurt us the most," the woman said, and sadness clouded her eyes. "I remember my Maggie used to be so carefree until her secrets festered inside her. Then she grew distant and she stopped coming around." "What happened to her?" The words slipped out of Jess's mouth. She didn't want to engage this woman in conversation, but she wanted to know. "She took her own life a year ago. In her suicide note, she wrote how she couldn't handle the guilt of what she'd done, and she hoped God would forgive her for taking another's life." Jess's hand flew to her mouth. "She killed someone?" "A teenage girl," the woman said. "She was driving drunk and ran a red light. She served over a year in prison, but she sobered up while she was inside. I wish she had told me when she got out how she was feeling. I know what she did was wrong, but every life is precious to God." A new wave of guilt washed over Jess, and she wished she had never conversed with the elderly woman. As her phone buzzed again, Jess reached for the power button, but her eyes landed on the caller ID screen and she paused. The number flashing this time was not Emily's, but Chad's. Why was he calling her? Jess let the call go to voicemail and then listened to the message. "Jess, it's Chad. Your roommate came looking for you. She's worried about you, and frankly, so am I. Where are you? At least let us know you're okay. Please?" The tone in his voice was the last straw. Tears spilled out of Jess's eyes and coursed down her cheek. What was she doing? She couldn't have an abortion. She hadn't even told Chad she was pregnant. "Are you all right, dear?" the woman asked. Jess shook her head. "I'm not, but as soon as I can get off this bus, I will be. Thank you for sharing your story with me. I'm pregnant, and I was headed to Fort Worth to have an abortion. But your story and that call, that was the baby's father. He doesn't even know." "Are you a believer, my dear?" the woman asked with tears in her eyes. "I'm almost ashamed to say I am after what I was considering," Jess said. "But I'm very new to this." "My daughter was a believer too when she had her accident," the woman said. "I think it's what made her guilt even worse. I prayed often for her to come back to me, and when she didn't, I was angry for a time at God. But then he showed me that good things can come out of tragedies, and so I began to pray that Maggie's story would help others. He answered my prayers today." At that, more tears escaped Jess's eyes, and the two women hugged and prayed together before the bus stopped, and Jess deboarded to switch buses for one headed back to Lubbock. As she waited for the bus that would take her back, she sent a text to Emily letting her know she was okay, and one to Chad asking him to come by her dorm that evening. She knew she would have to tell them what she had almost done, but it needed to be in person and not over the phone. Relief flooded Chad at Jess's message. She was okay. That was the main thing. But where had she been, and what did she have to tell him? Had she found someone else? Would he be okay if she had? The more he thought about it, the clearer the answer became. No, he would not be okay. His worry over her today solidified the feelings he had been denying. He cared for her, and regardless of what she told him tonight, he would tell her how he felt.